Hey, it's Frank over at Caliber Home Loans. I put together this little presentation because I keep getting asked, are home prices going to decline? So before I start this, obviously nobody has a crystal ball. So we just have to look at historical data and what's going on in the market right now to make the best possible predictions on that. So let me run through this with you. First thing you want to see when you look at will home prices decline is let's look at existing inventory. So at this point in time, home inventory is at the lowest levels it's ever been at. You could see from the peak in the market 2006, 2007, when we got into the foreclosure crisis and the housing recession, it was way up here at 4 million units. That number is down to a million or less. Okay. Historically, you could see that averages more in the $2 million range. So we're very short on inventory right now. And some data out of the Pinellas Realtor organization shows that inventory is holding at about 1.7 months of inventory. So what that means is that if no houses came on the market, we'd sell every single house that is on the market in 1.7 months, so less than 2 months. A balanced market between buyers and sellers, okay, is going to be around 5.5 to 6 months. Because remember, everything is going to be, prices are going to be based on supply and demand, right? So right now, demand outpaces supply based on inventory. So let's move on. Population increases by generations. Everybody wants to focus on, oh, look what happened in the last foreclosure crisis. But you also have to look at demographic changes over time. In the last foreclosure crisis, all right, and let me go back a minute. Median age of a first-time home buyer is 32 years old. All right, so if you go back in history from 2007, all right, and you see, well, what happened with the birth rate back in the 70s? Okay, birth rate plummeted, kept going down. So you had less people coming into the market in the mid 2000s than you do now. Look where we are now. So you're talking 3 million people versus over 4 million people per year coming into the housing market. All right. So that's another reason why you're most likely not going to see a price decline because remember, more people, more demand. All right. Same thing with just overall population. You look back in 2004, 2006, your population, so we'll go over here, 2007, your population was about 309 million people in the United States. That number in 2022 was 333 million, right? So that's 20 something million more people living in the United States now than did, back when the housing market started to decline. Right. Again, more people, more demand, higher prices because your inventory is low. The other thing people always say, oh, what about foreclosures? People are going to get foreclosed on. So this happens to be a snapshot of what's going on. This is current on what's going on with delinquencies on mortgages. So if you look at this, these numbers are historically low. This is the foreclosure rate, 0.3% of mortgages that are in foreclosure. That is the lowest all-time lows on these numbers here. So there's not a lot of delinquencies happening in the real estate market now. The other thing you have to remember about that is back in the mid 2000s, there was a lot of loans that were not underwritten correctly, a lot of stated income, no verification type loans. Loans aren't underwritten like that now. They're full documentation. We're verifying everything to make sure that the client actually has the ability to repay the loan and not go into foreclosure. Yes, are foreclosures going to happen? Yeah, because life happens. However, we're doing the best we can to make sure the loans that we are doing are really solid loans and the people can afford them and not put themselves in that kind of position. All right. The other thing is cash buyers in our market. And I got a snapshot here, and you could look up all this data on the Pinellas Realtor organization. Cash buyers in our area, especially Pinellas County, a lot in Hillsborough as well, Pasco the same. Cash buyers are running about 40% of the market. Well, why is that important? Well, that goes back to our previous slide. if 40% of the market is cash, there's no delinquencies on those on them because there is no loans. Those houses are owned free and clear. The other thing that does is, if anybody's been out shopping lately, right? Houses that are in good condition, they're priced right. There's multiple offers on those, and there's cash buyers involved in those. So that keeps the prices elevated in our area. All right. Now, again, let's talk about the supply side of things. We talked about inventory, but let's look at permits. So this is a chart and shows you permits pulled every single month for new construction. All right, you see that bottomed out here in 2010. All right, so you see the median was over here prior to that. You know, it was at 2000. You know, you're looking at 1,500 permits a month. Okay, so now you look at 2010, that number was down to about 500 permits a month. Well, for the last 10 years, builders have been putting up less houses than the historical average, which is around 1,500 permits a year. That number's been lower. It's between 500 and 1,500. So we've been underbuilding. And remember, let's go back to our population. Population's increased by 25 million people, and the first set of millennials and Gen Zs are coming into the market to purchase homes. Again, supply demand. So our demand is outstripping our supply at this point in time. The other thing I hear a lot is, oh, prices can't keep going up this much. People aren't going to afford it. They're going to have to come down. Well, there's actually no data that shows that. This chart, you can see, shows appreciation back to 1942 every year historically. There's only been 7 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that prices have declined in the United States. All right. The other 73 years, prices have gone up or stayed stable. All right. So the thought of, oh, prices are going to come down, okay, just because people think they can't afford it, it's not a valid reason. You look over here, prices went up 100%. Same thing here. We had one set of declines over the years. So that kind of gives you a basic idea of what price appreciation looks like over the last 80 years. Now, I'm going to kind of stop there. Obviously this is my opinion, but just looking at the data, I do not see, a crash coming. Now, does that mean something crazy can't happen in the world? Well, sure. We can't predict all that. However, if you look at any given 10-year period, if you're going to buy a home, right, and it's going to be your primary residence, I'm not talking about flippers or anything else, and you're going to live in there, which the average person lives in their house between 7 and 10 years, in any 7 to 10 year period, you do not lose money on real estate. Well, that's my two cents about it. If you're interested in talking to me more about if now is the right time for you to buy, absolutely give me a call. Love the opportunity to talk with you. All right. Have a great one. Bye-bye.